all Canadian families, we are on the Titanic. The iceberg hasn't hit yet, so we're not sinking. If we don't shift course, that iceberg is coming for us.
I'm not planning on leaving. I'm fighting. We want to make this country incredibly great.
We begin to see that it really isn't about diversity. It is about punishing the people who perform beyond the mean.
For people who don't care, where do you see Canada going?
Oh, it's catastrophic. It is that bad.
What is the carbon tax doing to lower carbon emissions?
Exactly.
I love this country. I was born in this country. I believe in what this country stands for. I believe in its people. I believe as a place opportunity for all to come and live, but the path that we're on is not working, and we are not going to be what we're supposed to be if we continue along this path.
Yeah.
Well, hello, citizens. Great to have you guys joining us today. Jeremy, how are you?
Doing good from Winnipeg.
You're in a different spot today.
Different set again, but we are here. We are doing the show. There's lots happening, man. We are living in a weird world right now, it feels like.
The show goes on.
It goes on, that's what happens.
Doesn't matter what cities we're
This
in.
is universal. This is universal for everyone.
Your chair's still getting good use today, though. I threw my jacket on it, just so you know.
Perfect. Good.
Well, guys, lots going on in the world. I want to hope, actually, just first off, thank you guys for hanging with us, checking us out.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the support and growth. It's been very cool to see all you guys hanging with us on YouTube and the podcast world, and you guys who are supporting us. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. We love what we do. It's a passion project, but couldn't do it without you.
Absolutely.
Where should we start, Jer? There's a couple of things I definitely want to touch on today. Like, I want to touch on our Prime Minister at Mar-a-Lago. I want to touch on
absolutely.
South
That's
Korea.
huge.
And there's some other interesting things happening. So what do you feel like going to?
Canada Post is still on strike right now, which is
Yes.
which is really affecting a lot of things. Like even with the organization you and I are running, there's a lot of stuff that's affecting us. Like we have payments that we owe and things that we usually do by check and all these companies, and it's halting a lot of stuff. So we're feeling it over here.
Well, even communications, right, that we do
Yeah.
with different people in our world, it's holding that up.
For sure. There's an episode which maybe we can link below about crown corporations. And I think this, to me, has kind of sparked a little bit about maybe why we need to get this out of being a crown corporation and change it up a bit, because FedEx is loving this right now, and UPS and all of them are just loving it. I guarantee it. They're making some incredible business out of this. But
Do you think there's any businessman or woman that wants to take on Canada Post as a failing business? Like, you think they see opportunity, or do they think it's so far gone that it has to be just completely ripped down to the
I don't
studs?
know. It depends if you adopt the amount of debt. It has to, but it depends. I think you could have a huge opportunity because you have people who are used to using their service on a mass scale in a large country. I at least it depends on the deal you could strike, but it is a dying business. Their numbers are going down. I don't know if this is why. This is a sweeping statement. But I think because it's kind of government run, they're not innovative. They're not finding new technologies where FedEx and UPS would. And I was talking to a businessman last night, and he was telling me that in his business, like every season, he has to figure out how to innovate, because technology is changing so quickly. And Canada Post just doesn't seem to be doing that in a world of Amazon Prime, where you get things next day and mail is becoming quicker and quicker and quicker. The Crown Corporation doesn't seem to be innovating whatsoever. So this may be, I don't know.
It's built into, I think, how the nature of these corporations. Like, I'm assuming the strike, I don't know much about it, to be honest here, but the strike, I'm assuming, just has to do with wages for workers trying to get more money for employees. Is that what it is?
I would assume so. I'm actually not quite sure. I can get a couple quick lines on it, and we can obviously link it.
Yeah, in that nature, that if that's the case, that's typically what has been the case. That is their way of getting pay increases. If they feel like they're not getting paid enough or not getting enough raises over time, they go on strike to renegotiate the terms of their employment, right?
Yeah.
But when you have companies who are forced to innovate, you'll be rewarded and you'll be paid more based on what kind of innovation and problems you can solve, right? So it's not a right or guarantee that you have a job, but it's very similar in Canada Post. Anyways.
When I just looked it up here, it says that they went on strike on November 15th, 2024. So they're coming about a month in about a week or so. After nearly a year of unsuccessful contract negotiations, the union's demands include wage increases aligned with inflation, improved benefits, enhanced job security, and a safer working conditions. Canada Post has proposed wage increase totaling 11.5% over 4 years and additional paid leave. Wow, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
But disagreement persists, particularly over the weekend. Parcel deliveries and staffing flexibility continue to disagree on.
No doubt people are feeling the increase in our cost of living in Canada, right? And this is their way of trying to make it more comfortable for their people, which is fine. But they can fight the battle because that's the system they're in. I just think it's a long-term failing battle in terms of actually creating companies that are going to benefit us as Canada, right? We want all citizens to have fair and equal shot, but anyways, it's just not a good model. It's actually a bad model.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I think it's something worth looking at. And like I said, we're just kind of giving a quick overview. So if someone's in the Canada Post world, and I know a few people who work in Canada Post, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Maybe we're just totally ignorant to the idea, but and I know it's a very difficult job to go to literally door to door in the winter, in the season. It sucks. It's not glamorous, and it's a grind, and grateful that people do it. But the thing that we're arguing is not the hard work. We know it's hard. We're arguing the innovation. We're arguing the approach. We're arguing the fact that it's crown.
Yeah.
And those are the things I think that need to be questioned.
It's just been stagnant and bloating, and it's slow, and it doesn't turn quickly when it needs to. Let's
I was going to ask you, where's the Titanic on the table? Is it closer? Is it
it's
further?
trying to turn away from the iceberg right now. It looks like there's a bit of a pivot that's coming in.
Well, it looks like there was a joke about maybe a new captain for the Titanic that Trump would maybe adopt Canada.
Well, I think the way we'll transition here, Jared, is I think the Titanic on our table is trying to do a last-ditch effort of turning and avoiding like what I think Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who spent years bashing MAGA and Donald Trump and all that, is trying to do a last-ditch effort of going down to Mar-a-Lago to salvage our potential relationship.
Totally. And for those who, and we'll get into the details here, but for those who don't know what I'm talking about, why I talk about a new captain is that Justin Trudeau was at a discussion or at a table or dinner with President-elect Donald Trump, and essentially made a comment along the lines that if the U.S. puts these types of tariffs on Canada, that it would decimate the country and decimate the economy. And so Trump responded and said, if the only way Canada can benefit is to decimate and take advantage of the United States economy, then maybe it's time that we adopt them as a 51st state. And then they all jokingly and nervously laughed. And so that's what I mean by new captain, is that Trump was making some jokes about maybe they can take Canada under their wing.
That's the genius of Trump, though. Like,
I know.
whether you hate it or love it, he is just... Like, I think he's showboating by doing that. Like, the guy's not even in office yet. And he's already talking about expanding and adding new land to the United States.
And there's people meeting him from all countries all around the world coming down to Mar-a-Lago. And Zuckerberg was there, Mark Zuckerberg. And it's crazy.
Look what it's social media policy. Like, look at the world we're in. He puts out his thoughts and what he's going to do months down the road on social media. He doesn't even have to leave. Like, he spent all that time jet setting around the United States, right, for his election campaigning. Yeah. And now he can just sit at Mar-a-Lago. He can tweet out the things he's going to do, and he's going to have world leaders and business leaders all around the world flock to him to come have dinner, to chat through of, please don't do this, or let's get on his good side. That's the position he's in. That's just crazy to me. Can I get a bit more Jeremy in my ears? Just a little bit louder would be great. Okay, I got a video, Jer. I want to queue up from Fox News. We're kind of reporting on Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump and Justin Trudeau. So here's some news from a couple sources that were at the table explaining what happened. So again, this isn't firsthand from them, but there is some people who were talking a little bit about the conversation. Here we go. We'll queue it up so we get you guys.
Before you hit play for a second, I just quickly asked ChatGPT, I said, who's all gone down to Mar-a-Lago in the last couple of weeks? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Mark Zuckerberg, Sylvester Stallone, Bill Belichick, Mitt Romney, Rudy Giuliani, Scott Bessent, the Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, Joe Scarborough, Mike Brzezinski, and that's just a few. Yeah, I think it's just insane. Everybody's just going down. Busy. And yeah, especially a month before he's even elected.
Okay, here's a recap, you guys, to give you some context, and we'll discuss kind of our
Inaugurated.
thoughts on what's going on here.
Yeah.
So right away, there was a call from Trudeau, and then there was a visit. And he went down, he goes, let's just work this out. At which time, I think they were very blunt to each other.
Yeah.
And it looks as though in a standoff, he said, you got to fix your border. We got tens of thousands coming in. It's a lot less of a problem than the North, than the South. But there's a huge problem because you're not putting any assets there. The other issues is the drugs that come through to the governor of New Hampshire. But then when they started talking, he said, you can't put 25% tariffs on us. It will destroy my country, he said.
Right. And Fox News has spoken to two people who were at that table with Trudeau and the president. And the president was very direct about what he wants. He said Canada is letting in drugs and people from 70 different countries. And then here's a quote that you'll find at foxnews.com. The president-elect told the prime minister, if Canada cannot fix the border issues and trade deficit, he will levy a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods on day one when he returns to office. And Trudeau, there was a little laughter there, then Trudeau told him he can't levy the tariff because it would kill the Canadian economy completely. And Trump replied, asking, so your country can't survive unless it's ripping off the U.S. to the tune of $100 billion. And then Trump suggested to Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state, which caused the prime minister and others to laugh nervously. Also, reportedly, one person at the table said, well, Mr. President, that would be a very liberal state if Canada became a state. And then Trump said something like, well, there could be a liberal state and a conservative state. But nonetheless, he made it very clear. This is what he wants to happen. And, you know, as we reported yesterday, stuff is happening. They're adding more resources to our northern border.
So this totally happened. I mean, just
Absolutely.
Listening to this exchange, the president-elect totally told them this. If you cannot get your affairs in order, if you cannot guarantee, do your part, this is part of your border as well. If you can't guarantee the safety of our people and your people, then we're going to put a tariff on you. Yeah. And I don't care if it tanks your economy. Do the right thing, or this is what I'm going to do.
Okay, let's pause it there. Initial thoughts, Joe, what do you think?
Well, my initial, I think it's really funny. But the thing is it's that you can see a shift in the media, first of all. And that's one thing that I kind of wanted to point out. There's a clear shift in the media, I think, with what they're seeing coming down the pipe. The second thing I want to point out is it's clear America first. Like it's crystal clear that his policies are, am I supposed to hinder my country for yours? Like, no, of course not. Like, and so I think that's the thing. And as I look at like all the premiers commenting on this, and you can tell like Doug Ford was just so funny. I wish I could find you that clip of Doug Ford responding to it. He just is so, he's just virtue signaling with his thing going, it's completely unfair and it's ridiculous and we can't, and it's like if he had an honest, if he was honest about it, I think he would honestly say, if I was in those shoes and people were flooding in my province, I would do the same to protect my province. And that's the part that, depending on the politician and their policy and their angle, they're not necessarily being fully truthful about it. This is the best thing for the United States. And if we can't respond to it, we have a problem. It's really our problem. Yeah. We should have a secure border. And so they're discussing purchasing of helicopters already, drones. And I can see, depending on what news outlet you look at in Canada, some of the liberal news agencies over here are saying this is all just smoke and mirrors. What good is a couple of helicopters going to do? What good is drones? What good is this? And I just find that just absurd that that's the angle they're taking on this. It's like, we want secure borders. Please secure our border. Please stop people from going like both directions. We want it secure. So it's strange that our media up here seems to be focusing on the wrong things, in my opinion. But
yeah,
this is good for both of us.
You know, the first thing, I think there's a couple of things, Jared, I'd love to maybe A, B, and C that we discuss is I want to talk. So A, I want to discuss how realistic is it of something like this happening, right? I'll give you my comments in a second, meaning there is a movement that is happening, particularly in Alberta, about separating from Canada. There is a faction of people as well who would entertain and enjoy the idea of Alberta becoming a part of the U.S. Like you've heard talk like that. It hasn't really been serious, but there are some players that are like, oh, I would be all for that. So I want to discuss that because I think, and first and foremost, as a proud Canadian who has studied and known our history and where we come from, is that Canadians are very different than United States. And for me, it's an emphatic no. I think if you're a Canadian and you like this idea, I really think you need to reassess this idea of joining up with the United States, because that does not solve the problem. I think that's just diverting and that's putting attention away from things you don't like. So I want to discuss that a bit more. And maybe even we're going to be connecting with a friend next week who knows a lot about this, but maybe we discuss with him the actual practical steps if something like this were to happen of joining of countries, aside from like military force and takeover, right? Like traditional conquest.
For sure. Like traditional, like it's been done.
Yeah, the U.S. just moves in and takes over. If is that even possible politically? I'd like to know that.
That's a great question.
Explore that. What does that even look like? Because there are so many ramifications. It's not just as simple as showing up. So let's discuss that. Secondly, I want to discuss what you said about the take that Canadians have, because I've been seeing some takes from different MPs, even in our House of Commons, from the NDP. They're criticizing Trudeau a little bit, but at the same time, their angle and their take is just backwards, because it's like the leadership in our country is weak all throughout. This expectation of the United States just needs to be nice to us because it's not nice if they put these things on. It's like, guys, it's time to get our house in order. So that we can survive, we can be independent, we can be strong, and we can create strong relationships with guys like the States, who's a giant trading partner to us. But we can't continue in the position we're in and continue to be subjected to someone else who can dominate us because we are in a weak position. You know what I mean?
For sure, and that's why it's it feels almost like a last-ditch effort to virtue signal and pander to the crowd that they're trying to pander to. And that's the thing that disgusts me. Like, even when you see, and this is why I think this show is so valuable, and shows like this, we're working on connecting with a few other shows here at CTZN with some incredible people. And so stay tuned, stay plugged in. There's gonna be some cool stuff coming. But
that was a little tease, Jer.
Yeah, it was a little tease. The thing that just drives me nuts, though, is that they were trying to pander to their crowd. And I think if the news was more honest, they wouldn't be able to. And that's why I was pointing out in the States is having a shift in their news, because the news plays, this is a stretch of a statement, almost as big of a role as the members of parliament do. If not, maybe arguably bigger. Yeah. Because the news brings the message out to the people and informs them, and that's where they get the data for what's happening. So the spin that the news puts on it is, it's so important. It's so important. So should they put a spin or not? Should it just be neutral? Should they? So the questions they ask and how they ask, and so that's why in the States, when you hear the press secretary get questioned, I love it when they just nail them and go, even with something we should maybe touch on is the pardoning of Hunter Biden. Yeah. They were questioning, I don't want to go into all that now, but like when they ask these questions and then all of a sudden something happens when they went against their word, depending on the media, student news source, they'll be either sympathetic or they'll be questioning and drilling them and going, but you said. And so Canada, that's not happening yet. And it seems like some of the MPs know that, and they're still pandering and still catering to that media that's supporting them. Yeah. And I think we're in this shift, and I hope this media shift happens where we can just take the responsibility back in the news. We need the media to take their job back.
Well, Return the Reason and Citizen, we're going to continue charging that way because we're trying to, you'll hear opinions. We're very open when we're telling you it's our opinions, and we're also very open when we are looking through, hey, what is the story actually saying, or trying to figure out what's going on. But media is a pillar of democracy. Like, you're absolutely right, Jer. It is so vital because barely anyone's watching CPAC. Barely anyone is actually reading through these bills that are being proposed in fine detail to know what's going on. It's the news, and it's shows like ours that even if we don't have all the facts, at the very least, I hope that we can spark something in people that are watching to go dig deeper themselves, right? That's why we call our show Citizen, is citizens can't be reliant on guys like you and I. We'll do our best to help bring things forward to you, but you can't be reliant on us to tell you every single thing. You have to pick up that duty and that responsibility on your own. And that's the only way you're going to have strong, healthy countries, is when people do that.
Totally. And to speak to your comment about separation with Alberta, possibly the idea of it, like I said, it's just a small thing that seems kind of every once in a while kind of come up. Yeah. It's not a massive movement that I see at all. But the thing that I think is extremely necessary is both parties. We need the debate of both ideas constantly, and they need to be wrestled with. There needs to be a left and there needs to be a right, and there needs to be kind of this debate back and forth. So to separate when the ideas, you just don't like the other idea, is to abandon some of the best parts of democracy.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because we need opposition, we need debate, we need conversation, and you need to wrestle with it. But in the pursuit of truth.
Yeah.
When truth is abandoned, that's when people feel like separating, but we still have to fight for it.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome, Jared. With the pursuit of the ideal of truth, the pursuit of trying to make the best country we can, you need both sides as a check and balance to each other. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think we've slowly been conditioned in the last 20 years that even when times are getting tough politically and we're not seeing eye to eye, or you're seeing empowerment of maybe crazy ideologies, or maybe the one side has gotten too far off and the other side counteracts it by going too far to the other side. There's a widening of the divide. And it's almost like we just want to tuck tail and run because I don't want to deal with this and do the hard work it takes to get back to where you have a healthy Overton window, where you have a healthy left-right balance, a healthy debate, knowing, hey, Jared, you and I might see differently, but let's go at it and work at our ideas. But then at the end of the day, we can still be civilized and respect each other and accept each other and move forward, because in theory, we both want the best for Canada. And if we just give up and want, as you said, separate, or if people love the idea, if there's all those Trump lovers in Canada that heard him say, we're going to bring Canada to be a 51st state, and they're cheering as if that's the solution. I just want to challenge you and say, no, I think you need to reassess and look at what can we do here with our hands and our feet in this country to get back. Let's not take the lazy way out. That's actually the lazy way out right there, Jer. It's just saying, hands up, yep, Trump, come take Canada and solve our problems. That's a lazy citizen. You can't have that attitude because you're actually forfeiting. You're not even worthy of the title of citizen if that is what you're thinking, because you're just giving up the duty that we have. And so I'm pretty adamant on we just can't have that. I think Trump is I think he's showboating by saying that. I think he's having fun. I actually think he knows he's not going to be dealing with Justin Trudeau anyways. So he's throwing things around. He's coming over the top with ideas. But it just shows, I don't know. I kind of think it's funny. I don't think it's going to happen, but for sure. I think it's funny.
I think if there's one thing that I am jealous of the States, it's their constitution. And that's something that if Canada could get to a position where the charter stands for more and actually defends the citizens' rights and freedoms at a real level, unequivocally, that's something that we need to get towards and push closer to. I agree. We need, and
that's a big criticism right now of what's been happening with Danielle Smith, Alberta, is that essentially it's just been rewritten to actually create loopholes where beforehand, there's some parties are saying beforehand, it was actually a little bit of a tighter document to protect us where not as many workarounds, and now there's that giant loophole that our Charter of Rights has.
We should almost do a show on those loopholes and what the charter doesn't protect and et cetera. Like even some of the cases that I've bumped into over the years of self-defense in Canada. Self-defense doesn't exist. No. It's so silly, man. No. Like that's one of the ones that blows my mind is that you have to use, I think it says reasonable force. And to a logical mind, you might go, yes, use reasonable force, of course. But how do you assess that? Yeah. How do you so someone's coming bursting through my front door. My children and family are asleep. Totally. And I have to go, hey, excuse me, sir, do you have weapons? And do you have a gun? Do you have a knife or a machete? You don't? Yeah. Okay, let's fist fight. Let's go. What? Totally. No way, man. Like, if someone's coming through, my family's at danger, and if I can defend them, I'll defend them at the maximum force.
Yeah.
I will stop them from hurting my family. And to think reasonable force is so absurd and so ridiculous. I'm embarrassed at some of our charter and the Canadian Charter. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it's not what I stand for. And that's what's wild, is that we should have the right to defend ourselves and protect ourselves. And I don't want to get too much into that because that's not what we want to talk about today.
No, but it's a good example of some crazy ideas, I think, in our country, right? Like the fact that I have now in the back of my head, just picture that scenario you said. Someone breaks into your home, coming to your house. It's dark. You can't tell what they have on them. They're coming towards you, or I have my child and my wife in our home. I'm not going to wait to react to and give him the drop to get something on me. If I have no idea what his intention is in there. I have no idea. And there is no room to judge how good his intention is or how desperate his life, maybe he's looking for food. No. It's you encroached onto my property. Did you see that video of the sheriff down in the States talking about if someone breaks into your home, do us a favor and make sure you shoot him dead because he broke the law by breaking on your property, and you'll save taxpayers dollars by it's just such a difference in mentality, right? And I'm just saying there's some ridiculous things like that, but.
Well, there was a video, I wish I would have had it here, and maybe Paul can get it queued up for us here, but there was a video, if I'm wrong, Paul, show it here, please do in the edit, but there was a video, I believe it was in Canada, it was either Montreal or Toronto, where someone was coming to rob and steal a truck, and he had an AK-47 aimed at the house while his buddy was getting broken into the truck, an AK-47. And so he's aiming it at the house in case anyone comes out. The guy steals the truck, backs it out. Once he gets out, puts the gun away, jumps into the car.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It's like,
I know which clip you're talking about. Well, there's
it might have been the States too, but either way, I'm just talking about evil. There's evil people who are coming to do evil things, and to think that I have to second guess laws that could punish me for saving my family in a situation of evil. It's ridiculous.
And there are people that there are, to quote, bad characters, to quote our Prime Minister, there are bad characters, bad people that will take advantage of weak policy, of weak and broken systems. They will take advantage. That's why it's so important to have these things. I want to show a clip, Jer. This is from our Parliament NDP MP, who is criticizing Trudeau a little bit about coming back empty-handed from Mar-a-Lago, this is the mentality I wanted us to focus on. So if you're listening, listen to the thought process that's behind what he's trying to say, and almost the presupposition that drives this statement, because that's where I think we've got a lot of flaws in our leadership in Canada, not just from the top. I'm talking across people wwho represent. So check this out.
Canadians are worried about their jobs and whether they can afford to put food on the table. Donald Trump's unfair tariffs will threaten those jobs and jack up prices for Canadians. Last week, the Prime Minister met with him, but he has nothing to show for it, and he came back empty-handed. Canadian workers want to know, did the Prime Minister make it clear to Donald Trump that balancing the U.S. budget on the backs of Canadian workers won't work for Canada?
Okay. Oh, yeah, there's so much in there that's ridiculous. First of all, what are you going to do to the U.S. if they, we're 40 million? We're smaller than some of their individual states. What is it that we're going to threaten and do? We are in the passenger seat here. We are not in the driver's seat whatsoever, and the states don't need anything that we do for them. So that's what's wild and ridiculous. Even I saw a report on CTV today, and they were talking about when Trump was in office in 2016 and he put 25% tariffs on steel, we returned the favor and put 25% tariffs on steel. And they were so proud of that. I'm like, then they just look the other way and get it from someone else. We are such a small player.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that we play is oil. And that's why the Keystone pipeline is a big deal. It's because we do almost 4 million barrels a day, and it's local, and you don't have to get a ship, et cetera, et cetera. So there are, of course, some things that are that we can add huge value to, but we are not in the driver's seat. And he's almost posturing it that way, like he had. Honestly, in if I'm being sympathetic to Trudeau, he doesn't have many chips he can put in the put in the middle. Like there's not much he can really twist Donald's arm on.
And that's something I think we have to come to terms with, if we haven't already, is that, but the reason why we don't have many chips in our hand, yes, we're a smaller country, but when you've got a decade of bad policy, when you have a decade of focusing on foreign aid and sending out money we don't have all the time to things that really aren't important to Canadians, like, we have to have a Canada first mentality.
Yes,
we have to return back to being a nationalistic country where we are looking at Canada needs to be strong. Canada needs to be a place that we focus on. Canada needs to be a place that we invest in. Canada needs to go all like really the thing is, a good offense for us in this predicament we're in with the United States is really a good defense, and we need to bolster up who we are as Canada. Like, and that's the thing with this video that really bothered me. Yes, it's one MP, but we've seen this pervasive attitude throughout. Is there's almost this entitlement behind that US, you owe us these things because it's going to be hard for Canadians. You shouldn't do this because it's going to be hard for us. It's like, what is that mentality? I don't want.
It's a Canadian mentality. Honestly, that's honestly. I hate to see it.
It's like we're dogs waiting for scraps at the table. What is going on here? When really what we should be doing is going all in on our resource development in Canada. Like if you look at, Jer, one of the things we have to our advantage, which we are what's the word I'm looking for? We're basically throwing it out the window. Is you mentioned the Keystone, but our resources. We are a major supplier to the United States that actually allows them to be energy independent because of how many. Donald Trump needs Keystone to be up and running and going. It needs it. So we have some chips there that we can play.
Yep.
Yes, we need to get our house in order. Let's figure out the border. Let's allocate proper resources. Let's stop sending money to Ukraine. Let's stop sending money to all these different spots. Is that my phone or your phone?
My wife, sorry. No, it's my phone. My wife.
It's my wife's ring.
She overrides it. Keep your wives on emergency bypass.
I found it the other day. I was on a rant there, Tamara. I was going good.
No, but I wanted to interrupt you, so I'm glad Tamara interrupted you.
Did you text her?
Because what I wanted to say was this. Yeah, I'm just going to text her because we got to catch a plane soon, and I got to make sure we're good. One of the things I wanted to say to you was, as you're talking, I'm ChatGPTing some stats, which are pulling from sources all over the place to figure out how much have we given to other countries since this government's been in. We've given $50 to $60 billion away. And then I went, how much do we spend on border security for such a large country a year? We spend $2.8 billion a year.
Yeah. Okay, so
can you imagine if that $60 billion came back to us to secure our border, and you added, let's double the budget, the security budget from 2.8, let's just round it up to $6 billion. You doubled it.
Yeah.
You could have covered it for the entirety of this another $3 billion over the last, how many years? 9 years. So it'd be another 30. You'd still have $30 billion to play with.
Yeah.
Let's double it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like the amount of money that we could be spending on this country or on resource development, on bolstering down. If our border was secure, Trump wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, Jared, gosh, there's so many bad things that's been happening that we put ourselves in a position where, as you said, we are chipless. We have nothing else to bet or to use to push in to try to. We just don't because we have just had bad policy. We had not just bad policy. We've had weak leadership,
bad execution,
everything, all the way down. And I honestly, I think I just like what I got out of this through even that comment and seeing some of the reports coming from Trump and Trudeau talking and chatting. It's just it reaffirms to me how we have to go all in on Canada. You need leadership that's willing to go all in. There's a good time to go into debt and to use that debt to actually build up things in your country that are going to produce for you long term, right? Yeah. We've known no one wants to, outside like guys like Chamath and all these other guys, they don't want to invest in Canada because it's not a good place. We have to either find ways to bring investors or the money we keep sending, keep it in, and let's throw it at our oil and gas industry. Let's throw it at places where we can not just explore and pull out more oil and ship oil out, but refine our own oil and actually grow these energy sectors. Some people might say that's unrealistic. Yeah, but look at the position we're in by how we've been doing. Like, we need to get to a place where we actually have something to offer, that we're not just hoping, like our NDP MP is saying, we just want the scraps. You owe us this because of no. People should want to United States. We are a major trade partner. They should want and respect that. But Trump also knows we're in a very weak position, and he's out to make United States extremely strong. So we got to shift, man. We got to shift majorly.
And one of the questions I'd love to ask David Haskell here Lease. David Lease next week. Shout out to David Haskell, good friend of ours, brilliant man. We had him on the show. I understand I have ignorance in foreign policy. I understand that there's NATO partners and that we need to support our partners and all this. I get it. I'm not saying no money. I'm just saying the amount of spending we have for a $40 million country is out of control. We are not big enough to be sending that kind of money out. Like, it's just wild. And we're not putting Canada first with its security, its protection, its borders, its resources. And that's the part that's wild, is that we are, to our own hurt, virtue signaling to the world and saying, look how good we are. And we're hurting ourselves. Like, it's just wild.
Well, I actually appreciate Trump's approach when he first took office in 2016 about how he cut a lot of different ties with these world organizations because he wanted to focus on US. I'm the same way. It's like guys, in our own homes, is that when you look at your own budget and the money that's going out, and if it's weakening and you're not building strength in your home because you have so much money going out, guess what? You start cutting money that is going out. You find places of, I don't have to spend there. What is this expense? Why am I doing this? You start assessing. I'm totally good with cutting back on those issues. I'm totally good with cutting back on foreign aid. I'm totally good on cutting back with supporting wars that really don't matter to Canadians at this point when Canada is in a position that it's in. Right? Yeah. When we're healthy and we're strong, you got money to throw around and the citizens are comfortable and the economy is great and there's investment coming in. Yeah, let's go and look at where we can help in the world to elevate the lives of human beings in the world. And yes, let's do that. But we're just slowly bleeding out and we're not tending to our own wounds.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things in the few short minutes we have left is I did kind of just want to talk about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden a little bit. There's a clip I saw. So for those who don't know, Joe Biden pardoned his son Hunter. And not surprised. There's quite a bit of an uproar about it. People are freaking out because he kept saying, no, I won't. No one's above the law. And there's a really funny fact check. And I don't know if it's real. Is it real, Paul? I'm not sure. Is it real? Okay. There's a fact. Have you seen it, David?
No, not this video, no.
Oh, man. So there's a post that Biden posted a while ago saying no one is above the law. And underneath that tweet, there's a fact check on it saying, in fact, Hunter Biden is above the law. And it's literally saying Joe Biden pardoned Hunter Biden on this day, on December 1st or whatever, and saying he's in fact above the law. And so it's kind of this funny thing that's going around everywhere. And there's this Instagram here that I'll show and we can get it punched in, but I just thought it was so funny. And you gotta love the lightheartedness of this stuff. So I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll see if we can see it here. And we'll throw it up on the big screen. It's so funny though. And it's just this like glare from Joe Biden being like, I'm gonna pardon him. And when this came up at home, I saw this on Sunday night. And I was like, no way you pardoned him, that's crazy. And I was talking to my mom. So my mom was right beside me. And she's like, oh. And I was like, Mom, it's his kid. He's about to go out of office. What do you expect? Are you surprised? And then all of a sudden she goes, I wouldn't pardon you. And I went, excuse me, Mom? And she goes, I would not pardon you. I was like, Mom,
that's a good
son.
mom.
She goes, I wouldn't. My morals are high enough. I wouldn't do it. I was like, Mom, I would convince you to pardon me. And she's like, no. And I'm like, first of all, I wouldn't do anything to need pardoning. But anyway, if I had to.
That's so good your mom said that.
I know
Way to
she
go,
wouldn't back
Louise.
down. She wouldn't back down. She's like, I wouldn't do it. And I was like, holy smokes.
Okay, Jared, I
Mom,
want
you're
to show you
intense.
something real quick. I just came across this on Twitter. You can see my screen, right? So this is...
I want to ask, before you go in there, go ask your mom if she'd pardon you. I want to see if citizens
let
will
us
do that.
know.
Ask your mom. I want to take this clip, post it, and see how many people's moms would pardon them, and then share it with us.
Are you suggesting if you did a bunch of legal stuff like Hunter, would your parents pardon you?
Yes. And your parent was like the outgoing president and had the power to, would they do it?
If you
curious.
allegedly did what Hunter did,
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Would your mom or dad, or would they be on? would they be on the same page, or would your dad say no and your mom say yes, or what would happen?
I know,
That's
right?
hilarious.
I know.
Okay, so Marty up north on Twitter just literally put this out just recently, talking about, I'll accept this. We can argue over the name later, but we have to be a republic. He's combined northern BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, some Yukon and Northwest Territories. And then this has got some legs in terms of people thinking of it. What's the estimated GDP of our new country? Well, Alberta's 338
So you're talking
billion.
about combining Canada, US?
No. Making independence for Alberta, Saskatchewan, and part of the Yukon. So it's going through showing other countries. And basically, we would be, so half of BC, 150 billion, Yukon, 3 billion, Saskatchewan, 85 billion, Alberta, 338 billion. So it's close to 500 billion of it. He's essentially saying that that would make our new republic a G25 nation. Without Ottawa's restrictions, we could probably climb to be in the G20 in no time. Canada would drop to 14th or 15th place. Only reason I'm saying that and showing that, because there is a bit of a movement of people that want this to happen, of Canada finding some sort of Alberta and some nations finding independence or coming together BC. But I still stand by my comments earlier about not doing that, about remaining on our own. I think I don't know. I think we got to fight to keep Canada together for what it originally was meant to be. I think that's too important. So
It says something that people are flirting with that idea. It says a lot.
yeah, and it's growing. It's not just flirting anymore. I think there's maybe next week we'll talk about this, guys. But there's a growing number of people that are on board with this. But hey, Jaron, our last couple of minutes. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but yesterday being Tuesday, is that South Korea announced martial law for the first time since I think it was like 1980 or something like that. So obviously this is significant. Martial law. If you don't know what martial law really, if you don't know what it is, it's suspension of basically your rights and privileges, and it is the military taking over by power and by force and controlling. So in this instant, controlling the media, controlling all that type of thing. There's a lot of. It's really important to pay attention, you guys, on this one, because for those who don't know what's going on in South Korea, I think that this could have implications on global democracy and what other countries potentially could do. President Yoon Suk Yeol declared emergency martial law, accusing the opposition of anti-state activities, plotting rebellion, saying that they are sympathizers with North Korea. This decision came after guess what? This is where it is here. The decision came after the Democratic Party basically railroaded, or it hurt a downsized budget bill that the current government brought in. And they also submitted impeachment motions. The current president has 25% approval rating with an all-time low of 19% in November. So I don't know the ins and outs specifically, but it could, if there actually are potential threats to their democracy from North Korea supporters, we'll have to find out the legitimacy of that. If
it's changing minute by minute,
is
too. It's really evolving. Like there's I'm on BBC.com and they show every 10 minutes from 10:10, South Korea Parliament votes to block martial law. 10:22, 190 lawmakers present vote to lift martial law. The latest images found at 10:32, so it's changing minute by minute. And there's all sorts of photos of military inside their parliament buildings, helicopters landing on the buildings, special forces entering the buildings, like all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
It's wild. But it's quite wild. There's a lot happening.
But looking at if this is the president trying to hold on to power, or trying to use power within his grip to control and avoid elections or whatever. Just interesting to watch, because you've got other people in the world who've got low ratings and approvals. Not saying they will, but it's just interesting to watch when one country does something. Sometimes you see other countries follow. So be paying attention to South Korea. That's big news.
ask our citizens watching is we didn't go into this show, but maybe we'll dive into it deeper because it needs to be addressed, is what's happening in Montreal, the anti-Semitic stuff that's happening. There's a lot of evil things happening and in Montreal. And so I didn't want to go into it because I haven't been able to dig into it or find enough about it. And so maybe we need to ask David Lease about it or figure out what's going on. So if there's anyone who knows anyone over there or what's happening, comment below, and maybe we'll question you and figure out your sources, or maybe, who knows, and maybe sometimes pull people on shows for comments or thoughts.
This is from like a week ago, you're saying, right? With the riots,
Well, I think there's still stuff evolving right now.
We'll have to look into that.
As we speak. So we will have to dig into it. Maybe we'll do some social media stuff about it. But but it's wild.
Let us know in the comments, you guys, whether you like the idea of Trump's joke about Canada becoming a 51st state, whether you think it's ridiculous. Thoughts on Justin Trudeau as he negotiates and talks with Trump and builds that relationship. Thoughts on where we're at in Canada. Do you want a strong Canada? Let us know. We love hearing from you guys. Anything else, Joe, you want to add or stay?
No, I think we're in such a crazy, weird season here coming into Christmas. Kind of curious what's going to happen. The GST thing hasn't passed yet.
Okay.
The $250 check hasn't passed yet. So curious what that's going to happen. The Conservatives have kind of given their stance on saying that they won't vote for it. They don't think it's wise. It doesn't really help anything. So there's lots happening here, and especially leading into Christmas, usually there's a lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what the Liberal government will do if they feel like an election's coming. So keep all of that in mind as things happen. So we'll be on top of it. Look forward to your guys' comments. There's a lot of things happening in our comments right now. So go down there and jump in. It's fun.
It's awesome,
if you
man.
like us, if you don't like us, I don't care. Just keep jumping in.
Tell us you don't like us. Man, we're in December. Little friendly tip: start your Christmas shopping. Jerry, I started mine 2 days ago, and I've already got some going. So I'm taking the pressure off the last 5 days of before Christmas from you. I'm getting a head start. But anyways, thank you guys.
Think of shopping.
Yeah. All citizens, appreciate you hanging out with us.
Show goes on.
Show goes on. See you guys next time.